that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen.
This is true.
Significantly reduce them.
This is true.
Through having more fathers in the home, by having more.
I don't know how you regulate that, but I don't know how you mandate that, but okay. We're gonna speed run this video because I think it's. Honest to God, I think it's emblematic of the conversation we're actually having, and I appreciate Charlie Kirk for just coming out and saying it. So let's do this really quick.
Must also be real.
So Charlie Kirk spoke at some event about gun rights, about gun control, about the recent shooting in Nashville. Let's hear how he sees the conversation.
We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price, and that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price.
And you wonder why a lot of leftists support a much more what's the word, lively rail system and public transport. Also, by the way, keep in mind, for people who are like, but I like my car. I get it. I like my car too. But don't you think it'd be nice if you didn't have to rely on this vehicle that breaks down, that needs $1 million, however many dollars worth of repairs every single year, along with oil changes and everything else, all the upkeep, all the rest of the shit? I think it'd just be easier if there were, accessible buses, trains, all that sort of stuff kind of, there. I think that'd be nice.
You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities.
Cool.
But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth.
First of all, planes are faster.
The cost of 50,000 people dying on the road.
Also, keep in mind, I know I said we're going to go fast, and it's very short, but I want to.
Worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road.
Where is it?
So we need to be very clear that your nuts is worth the cost.
Can I get the? Okay, there we go.
The benefit of driving.
Okay, I want to go over these benefits really quickly. Hit them.
Accessibility, mobility.
Accessibility. Are cars accessible? Are they cheap? No, you go into a pretty decent amount of debt unless you get a clunker. So I don't know about accessibility.
Benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth.
Yeah, so all of that is like the industries around having cars. But keep in mind, the reason why you need a car in the United States in 2023 is not because, it's not because we needed cars, right? Before we had cars, we had horses. You could get around without cars perfectly fine. But it was the way that when we industrialized, when we built our cities, when we planned our cities, they were built to accommodate whatever the newest technology was at the time, which was the cars. Like the way our society was kind of built was for this individual transportation method. One man and one horse type of shit, right? But horses are a lot smaller, easier to control. That sort, compared to like cars, mechanics, all the rest of that stuff. And also horses didn't really cost you. It's thousands of dollars each year to upkeep. But cars, regardless of all of that, cars are a result of the way that we organized our cities and our country, basically. But they're not inherent. We don't need cars. We just need to build society, I think. And when I say build, I literally mean build in a smarter, more walkable, certainly, more bikeable, certainly, but also more open way, a more open manner.
The cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen.
This is true.
Significantly reduce them.
This is true.
Through having more fathers in the home. By having more.
I don't know how you regulate that, but I don't know how you mandate that, but okay.
Armed guards in front of schools.
You could put armed guards in front of schools, but we have armed guards in front of schools now. In fact, here in Denver, we had armed guards in front of schools, and there was still a shooting. You can have all the armed security you want. Anybody who's any Call of Duty player will tell you it's all about getting the drop on somebody.
We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence.
Cool.
But we should not have a utopian one. You will never
I'm okay
live
with
in a
that.
society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death.
This is true.
Nonsense. It's driven.
This is absolutely true. It's why I don't support a ban, because it's never going to happen. A ban is unrealistic. A ban and a mandatory buyback program, unrealistic. It just won't happen. That's why I don't support them.
But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the
I appreciate this honesty.
Of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year.
Some gun deaths.
The Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Keep in mind, he is characterizing the deaths of children at a Christian school, the deaths of children at elementary schools around the country, the death of, all of these mass shootings, the deaths of people at a country music festival, the deaths of people at clubs all over the country, all of these deaths, all of these mass shootings. He is arguing openly, and I appreciate this honesty, that it's worth the trade to have a Second Amendment right, a right to own a firearm, which is not what the Second Amendment says, but we'll say arms is firearms specifically, even though it's not. But keep in mind, he's being honest. This is the real argument. And most people will never cop to it because they know that it sounds bad. They know that politically, it's not a winner. Because to say like, hey, look. I don't like the deaths any more than you do. But I own a shotgun to protect my home. And if that means that your kids, my kids, have a higher chance of being shot by their classmates, I'm willing to make that trade. And that's the honest trade that's the honest trade that they're making. And I appreciate Charlie Kirk for coming out here and just laying it all out there. I appreciate this.
That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
Let's go back for a second.
But I am utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Such as?
A prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. So then how do you reduce?
This is true.
Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know.
Well, you don't stop them.
Baseball games.
Ah, yes, shooting. So what he's referring to was I believe the shooter was like a leftist, and they shot at, I think they hit like a senator or something, at like a senatorial baseball game. This happened, I believe, over 5 years ago. So the example he's bringing up is not just wildly out of date, but he specifically picked that for a reason, because it's one of the very few examples of somebody politically left-wing picking up a gun and turning to violence against their representatives.
Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How do we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the
Wait. We have armed guard. Wait a minute. We have armed guards outside of airports? No, we don't. That's not true at all. There are guards within it, but absolutely you can walk into an airport and fire off at people. You ever been to an airport? They're not the most secure thing until you get to TSA. And even then, there's quite a bit of airport before you get to TSA.
Shootings at banks. We have armed guards outside of banks.
Wait, nobody robs banks anymore. That's not... We have way too many... Like, the idea that you would rob a bank is outdated. Like most banks don't even hold that much money. They're not... Banks don't run the same way that we did when we robbed banks. It's not really how that works anymore. People don't rob banks like that.
How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of...
They are Rickards.
There's all these guns. Because everyone's armed.
Okay, I'm glad we did that really quickly. You can kind of see how, like, point by point, it's utterly stupid every single point he makes. Because all of them are either out of date or all of them are also incorrect. The idea that, like, there's never going to be a shooting at a stadium, utterly absurd. Do you think your local... Go to a baseball game. Go to a Go to a wrestling event. Go to I don't know. Go to a football game, and you tell me how intimidating the security who scans your ticket is, and you tell me how, if there was a shooter, how much they'd be worried about those people. The people who do security, do little and like walk you through the little machine. They're not taking a bullet for anybody. They're not armed. They're just not. There might be armed security off to the side somewhere else, but if somebody wants to shoot up any of these places, there is no shortage of targets, and there's no shortage of people they could kill before security finally makes it to them to stop them. None of these examples make sense. The thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to